In 1987, producer Sean S. Cunningham was in development, writing ideas for an underwater monster movie, after writer Louis Abernathy sold him a script about an underwater team who are terrorized by a sea monster. However, there were many other known film projects in the works that featured an underwater creature in them. A friend of writer Abernathy, Aliens director James Cameron, was working on his own underwater creature saga, The Abyss, at the same time. Cameron asked him to delay his planned movie to avoid any competition with The Abyss. Regardless, Abernathy ignored Cameron's plea. He went ahead with the project anyway. This, of course, threatened their friendship for a long time. Robert Harmon was originally going to direct, but producer-director Sean S. Cunningham was more interested in the project. The film was Deep Star 6. Director Cunningham was mainly known for his horror films, which were many, and was a producer on the Wes Craven shocker The Last House on the Left in 1972. His most well-known film was the 1980 slasher classic Friday the 13th. He also directed one of the sequels, Jason Goes to Hell, The Final Friday, and produced the needless Friday the 13th remake in 2009. Cunningham was in the race to be the first director to release the first underwater creature movie of 1989. The film was given a budget of $8 million. This film, however, would make up just one of the many underwater creature movies to come out in 1989, including The Abyss, Leviathan, and Endless Descent, aka The Rift. The Abyss, however, would have a very different underwater theme, focusing more on aliens living underwater than sea monsters. The Abyss would be the biggest moneymaker of all these films. The story of the film, in short, is about the struggles of a crew of an underwater military outpost which has to defend their base against the attacks of an underwater monster. The cast was made up of a group of well-known TV actors like Nancy Everhard, Cindy Pickett, yes, the mum from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Miguel Ferrer, well known for his roles in Twin Peaks and RoboCop, who plays a very unlikable character who meets a very bad end. Greg Evigan of BJ and the Bear and My Two Dads fame, Nia Peoples, and Elia Baskin, who has had quite a career appearing in a number of big box office films such as Spider-Man 2 and 3. The creature of this film was designed by Chris Wallace of Gremlins fame, who then turned over his production designs to FX head Mark Sjostrom, who made some slight alterations to the creature and also changed the creature's color scheme. The film was released by TriStar Pictures in the US on January the 13th, 1989, and made its debut in 8th place in its first weekend. It made barely what it cost to make, making only just over $8.1 million at the box office. Yes, Deep Star 6 was the first of these underwater films to be released, but was very poorly received by critics and audiences. Variety gave the very negative review, calling the film diluted by implausibility, and criticized the film's creature design, deeming it unrealistic rather than threatening, also criticizing the lack of good central characters. Time Out criticized the film's predictable plot and dialogue, and said that the only inventive aspect of the film was the design of the monster. Director Cunningham was attacked for being too much like a Ridley Scott and James Cameron clone, ripping ideas from films like Alien. One critic said, "This simply rehashes the phony trappings of countless TV shows to boldly go where we have been before," and the film was criticized for its predictability, dialogue, and its lack of suspense. The score was done by Harry Manfredini, who was an American film composer and jazz soloist who has scored well over 100 films, which include the Friday the 13th film series. Deep Star 6 has its problems. There are a few great little moments, but the film is badly paced, which can make the film drag quite a bit. The characters can get quite annoying with their bitching and moaning throughout the film, and so much cliche-driven dialogue and a very lazy script. Deep Star 6 has very cheap production values. The creature, when it reveals itself, can be unconvincing. But in all honesty, I had a good time watching this film regardless of its obvious faults. At the time of its release, I was more into the James Cameron epic, The Abyss, and still hold this film as one of my absolute favourite films. I was aware of these other underwater creature films like Deep Star 6, and Leviathan was the other one I remember seeing on VHS. Deep Star 6 is one of those films you could watch and forget about. But the cheesiness and B-grade effects and gore of this film make this film so much fun to watch. I'm a sucker for these types of films. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe if you haven't already.